tighter. College lacrosse season, of course, starting to ramp up. Of course, conference play right around the corner for both of these squads. And Rutgers trying to grab one more non-conference win, one more feather in its cap before they take on really the cream of the crop in the Big Ten. We're chatting during halftime, too. Kevin noted that Rutgers hosting Big Ten tournament games this year, so maybe a little extra added fuel for motivation to try to position themselves as best as possible for that.
Yeah, if you're Rutgers, there's a chance that you don't have to leave campus for your Big Ten tournament. You could host a quarterfinal, and then the semifinals and championship games are going to be played at your home stadium. So some incentive to, if you needed extra incentive in Big Ten play, that could certainly bring it.
St. John's, no dice on their first offensive possession of half number 2. It'll be interesting to see to what extent Rutgers perhaps thinks about trying to give some guys some run here in this second half. Of course, if this score does stay as lopsided as it is, maybe some more of the reserves that you aren't maybe accustomed to seeing as much. But business as usual for Brian Brecht to open up this third quarter. Many of the regulars back out there. That includes none other than Colin Cardilla. Turnover for Rutgers that time, and St. John's the takeaway as Nelson looking to ignite the transition in a clear game that has struggled. Remember, we told you during halftime, 9 for 17. That is not going to cut it, and now you make it 9 of 18.
Yeah, it's been tough for St. John's to just have crisp clears, and Rutgers has taken full advantage of it. Told you that St. John's comes into this game averaging about 17 turnovers per game, and right now they are already at 19, and we still basically have 30 minutes of lacrosse to play.
Cardilla behind Cage. He'll quarterback the Rutgers offense, keep it himself, and flick it wide to the right. Well, not a bad idea whatsoever for the Tewaaraton watch lister, but just couldn't quite execute how he had envisioned.
You know, one thing just to keep an eye on in this third quarter, and Rutgers has come out pretty sharp so far in these 3 minutes, although there's a save there. Rutgers has been outscored by its opponents in the third quarter, 21-14 this season. And on the flip side, St. John's has outscored its opponents 22-13 in the third quarter of games this season. So if those trends continue, perhaps St. John's can climb back into this game and make something of it in the fourth quarter.
Well, right now it's Rutgers trying to start the third quarter with a bang. Nelson a big save. Tried to go bottom right, stick side, and Nelson was all over it. Ground ball being fought for. Still no one really able to come up with it. Kicked around, and St. John's collects with Nelson. To go back to your point from earlier, Kevin, I'm curious. I want to dig a little further. So what do those numbers mean, essentially?
Well, typically, I mean, especially for a team like Rutgers, who's played a ton of close games this year, it's you want to be sharp coming out of halftime just like that.
Exactly. Right on cue. One more for the Scarlet Knights. Their lead is 11, and a failed St. John's clear turns into a Rutgers score. We'll get you the goal scorer as soon as we have it. Appears to be Hayden Summer, which will be now his 4th of the day. The redshirt sophomore having whatever he wants out there at this point.
It has been a day to remember for Hayden Summer, and imagine he'll probably be out there for a few more minutes in this game. You mentioned you think Rutgers could, rotate some guys who don't get as much playing time throughout the course of this second half. But just going back to that point on the third quarter numbers or totals for the season, I think for St. John's, and you mentioned their game against Bryant where they had trailed by a decent number at halftime, it feels like the message perhaps from the coaching staff is resonating a little bit more at halftime. Maybe they're able to see what they are doing wrong or not correctly in the first half and making those adjustments in the second half, something you would like to see from the start of the game on. But here in a game like this where you're down 11, certainly you're going to try to win the game and come back and slowly chip away. But I think the biggest thing is just finding some rhythm to your game, not having as many turnovers. You're able to convert clears, and you want to build going forward. Because at halftime, we talked about what the upcoming schedule is going to be like, closing out the non-conference and getting into Big East play. You want to be playing your best brand of lacrosse late in the season.
When it matters most.
Exactly. Yeah. And for St. John's, that starts with conference play. So it's a few weeks here still left before St. John's really has to be firing on all cylinders.
And an opportunity to try to end this game on a bright spot if they can develop a little more fluidity on the offensive end, even if it doesn't necessarily translate over to the results. Looking for a chance here from the middle. And there's a score for the Red Storm. A.J. Jafaris from the middle.
How about that from the freshman? Just the second game of his career, first goal of his career. And you're talking about those bright spots and those things to build on and adding from it with Noah Plen not playing in this game. We don't necessarily know his status going forward. St. John's is hoping to get him back sooner rather than later. But if they don't and he's out for an extended period of time, it's going to be guys that are the freshmen and sophomores that don't have a lot of scoring experience that will need to try to keep this St. John's team above water until they can get him back. So I think that is a big goal for Jafaris. You know, get that confidence in you. You're a young player. You're playing in your second career game. Get that experience scoring against a really good defense in Rutgers.
Perhaps it can unlock something for him moving forward. We'll certainly monitor that throughout the course of this second half.
And even in a game like this where, you know, it's a 10-goal game right now, St. John's certainly facing an uphill battle. When they start putting in some guys that are deeper in their rotation, no matter what the score of the game is, coaches are going back and watching film.
Oh, yeah.
They'll see who's standing out, who's still giving 100% effort, who should have maybe a look with the starters and the first string or even the second string. So even if the outcome could be decided in this game early, there's still a lot to play for especially the St. John's players that are looking for some type of hope to cling on to.
More creativity for Rutgers offensively, and it results in another Scarlet Knight tally. Colin Kelly that time, the beneficiary, who just puts it past the ear of Matt Nelson. Or beg your pardon, it was Summer again who got the last touch. Number 5 for Summer, who has been outstanding right from the get-go today.
Oh, how about this? We talked about Colin Kelly, Colin Cardilla, who had great games against St. John's last year when they won 21-11. You also look at a guy like Shane Murphy. He had a hat trick in that game, and he has 2 career hat tricks, and both have come against St. John's. Now, we haven't seen him here today, but I think in those stats that are going to get updated by Rutgers after this game, you're going to be talking a lot about Hayden Summer when these two teams meet again next season.
Summer has enjoyed a career day. By the way, Cardilla, another assist as he continues to stockpile the helpers. And we'll get you the total on those Cardilla helpers, now up to 7. So a 2-goal, 7-assist day for Colin Cardilla, who continues to just be a thorn in this Red Storm squad side really all day long.
And for Summer, his 5 goals are the first 5-goal game for a Rutgers player since 2022. So he puts his name in the Rutgers record books with his 2+ quarter performance here against St. John's.
Yeah, that's what's all the more impressive about it, right? We're only in the middle stages of the third. Ground ball scooped up by the Scarlet Knights, courtesy of Younger Kiss. Shovels it left. And Grayson Vorgang now Couple of flicks of the stick. Vorgang has had a nice day on the right angle. One of the engineers of this Scarlet Knight attack. Remember, we told you Rutgers trying to get back in the win column. Fell to Princeton last time out. In-state foe, Princeton no less. That game on the road against the number 3 team in all the land. And they have responded and then some so far today. This is Brady Cardilla. Extra touch goes around to that far side. Scooped up by Summer. He's had the hot hand. Feeds down low. And scooped up by Nelson.
And you're going to have to keep your eyes peeled here for a couple of Rutgers single-game records that we could be closing in on. You mentioned Cardilla with those 7 assists. Not too far away from the Rutgers single-game record for assists, which was set in 1973 by John Danowski. Did it against Penn State. So could Cardilla, he's close. 2 away from tying the record, 3 from setting the record. How much longer, I think, is he going to be out there? He's out there right now.
And he feeds middle. Yeah, it's been awesome to see.
Can he get a couple of more helpers? Still a long way to go, though, if you're looking at the goals record for Rutgers. Sumner with 5. He's still halfway from Rutgers' single-game goal record, which is 10. That was set in the late 70s and early 90s. Greg Rinaldi and Tom Sweeney each had 10 in a game.
Well, to your note from earlier on John Danowski, that's certainly a name that should sound familiar. Danowski, of course, now the head coach down in Durham for the Duke Blue Devils. Nelson with the save. He stands tall once more. Rather quietly, Kevin, Matt Nelson just picked up his 11th save. And again, he has been peppered at times throughout the course of the day. Has allowed the 14 goals, but another double-digit save performance for Nelson in cage for the Red Storm.
And it feels like you can't have a men's lacrosse conversation no matter what team's playing, no matter what players are out there, without some connection to John Danowski. Obviously, Coach Justin Turry, who played for him at Duke. Yeah, kind of all ties together there.
That shot pried free and knocked out of play. Red Storm closest to it with 4:20 to go here in this third quarter. St. John's needs goals, and they need them in a hurry. Trying to put one in the back of the net here, nothing doing. But it looks like they'll say a loose ball push perhaps against Rutgers will keep it St. John's way.
I just thought of something. I'm going to jinx it. I really don't want to, but now that I thought about it, I have to say it. Haven't had a penalty yet today.
Yeah, neither team has had a man-up opportunity.
No.
St. John's man-down defense has been outstanding. We haven't had a chance to see that unit featured yet today. But, yeah, the officials have certainly let him play. Has been a physical one. At times we've seen some hard hits.
Yep.
Dished out on both sides, it feels like.
It's been good, clean lacrosse. But I just had to say that, and eventually I know I'm going to jinx it, and there is going to be a penalty at some point, right?
We'll keep an eye out for it over the remainder of this second half. Timeout on the field. We'll take 1-2. 3:50 to go. Rutgers plus 11 here from Belson. Late stages, third quarter, 3:50 to go here in the third stanza, and Rutgers up 14-3. We got a football score on hand here at Belson on a day that the road team has had the upper hand really right from the jump. St. John's has never led in this contest. Looking to try to get the offense back in gear here, and that shot coming from the middle, inaccurate to the left. It was Brody Hergott who let it rip. St. John's closest to it, though, so the Red Storm will keep. Got to hurry, under 20 on the timer. Novak, a little too hot to handle for him, and Rutgers the takeaway. Burst of speed for the Scarlet Knights as they set up their attack. Top line of attackers still out there for the Scarlet Knights, including None other than Colin Cardilla, 7 assists today for the Scarlet Knights. That's not enough for you. He's also scored a pair of goals. Colin Kelly has had a productive day at the office. Spinning his way forward. He and Cardilla play catch. The offensive outburst hasn't been quite as large for Rutgers in this third quarter. They had 6 goals in each of the first 2. They only have 2 scores so far here in the third. Looking for number 3, not that time. Not a bad idea whatsoever, though, from Justin Lawler.
Johnny, you went down the football score path, so then I had to do the same. See if St. John's and Rutgers had ever played football.
Oh.
They have not.
Well, we don't have a football score anymore. Well, I guess we could technically. It would be a weird one, though. 15-3, one more for the Scarlet Knights. As Rutgers continues to really, feels like, get whatever it wants offensively. Colin Cardilla, the hat trick, a 10-point day for the Tewaaraton watch lister.
Yeah, not a bad afternoon at the office for Colin Cardilla. You eclipse the 100 career point threshold. You have a hat trick. You're closing in on the potential Rutgers single game assist record. You have 7 of those right now. So I would say that's a pretty good day at the office for a Tuesday for Colin Cardilla.
Sprinkle in a ground ball as well. He has been checking all of the boxes for the Scarlet Knights all afternoon. Final 2 minutes of play here in this third quarter. See if St. John's can get any semblance of momentum going into the fourth. It has not been pretty for the Red Storm so far here today. No dice there between Max Mullen and James Easton. Easton, though, does settle on it. And the Red Storm have it with Novak. Couple of scores for one of the St. John's leaders. Preseason All-Big East player. Finds Easton. Touch pass. Behind the cage, Campbell. Back towards net. Campbell shouldered off. Just outstanding defense by the Scarlet Knights here. 10 on the timer. Red Storm have gone stagnant. Shot comes from the middle, off the pipe. Owen Rogers on the rebound attempt. No good for Mullen on the bouncer. St. John's closest to it, though, so they will keep. This one of the longer extended offensive possessions that we've seen for the Red Storm from start to finish. Under a minute to go. In fact, shot clock essentially off. Rogers scoops it up. Campbell trying to get his defender to bite. Oh, a save made. Garden Stoller hasn't had to stand on his head today, but when Rutgers has needed him, he's come up big. Under 20 to play. Can't spike it home that time. Deacon Adams let it rip.
I feel like that Garden Stoller is the one player we have not talked enough about today because, like you mentioned, he hasn't had a lot of the action, but when he has, he's been magnificent. 6 saves, 667 save percentage right now. It's been an impressive day for him.
One more for the Scarlet Knights. How about number 16 on the day? And in the waning seconds of the third quarter, Rutgers tacks on one more.
Well, Hayden Summers got to be getting nervous, right? He has a 5-goal game. You think you're easily going to lead the team, and now all of a sudden you look up and Colin Cardilla has 4. And it's like, hang on a second here. Don't take my shine away from me. But it has been a dynamic day offensively for the Rutgers attackmen. They've just been spectacular.
So Cardilla now up to 11 points, the 4 goals and the 7 assists. Final 5 seconds of play here in this third quarter. Can St. John's get a shot